How's it going, internets? I hope you're having a lovely day. It's that time again. It's time to delve into some animation, get that imagination all revved up, get into some creativity, and it's time to get inspired. And today's inspiration comes from Vebell, and if you're not familiar with his work, check right over here. As usual, you're gonna kind of get, if you've seen any of my videos before, I love his work. Kind of you can tell that I usually try to find people whose work I just adore, and Vebell is another wonderful illustrator who, again, I don't feel like gets nearly enough recognition. Pretty much one of those golden age illustrators in the vein of Rockwell. But what I love about his stuff is he's got this really loose line that has a lot of power behind it. You can tell that there's confidence and strength in the way that he works, in the way that he draws, and it just it pours out of his work, I feel like, and he really is a master of anatomy and expression. I really love the color choices that he uses as well. The very, just a little bit of like blue hue in here I think is really gorgeous, and an interesting layout as well, or composition. You've got kind of the structural area, so that you've got this character in the background. You can tell that there's a lot of thought that goes into his work and his workflow to lay it out correctly. This one I thought was just really kind of that iconic imagery of the time, with the kind of not as many colors as typically you see in more illustration and work coming towards the current times. But I personally am drawn to this kind of simpler use of color. I think it kind of restrains you, so you have to make more creative choices there. You can't just have like a million blues and a million reds and all the different colors you could go through here. So you have to have this is kind of a red and that's a blue, but then you got to make this a blue, and then I look right here with those blend together. There's just a lot of interesting choices in there, along with just a lovely composition and layout for sure. Again, I really love the way that he does females as well. He has a very softness to his work that's hard to get across for sure. But really iconic imagery. Pretty much what you would think of a golden age illustrator. He really embodies for sure. But I did want to share a little quote that I was able to find. This is from an interview that he did, and he was talking about another illustrator that he worked with, and how their work was, I believe the term he used was anemic, and that there wasn't much confidence in his work. And so he kind of had a little talk with him, and he said, this is wartime, and you've got to have a good, strong line. And I think that's really evident in his work. You can see that there's a lot of confidence, and I think that that can be used in any sort of medium as well. To think of your work as, there's no time to putz around. You have to have confidence in your work, and believe in yourself and believe in your dreams, and just hit it hard, and not. That's definitely something that I know personally I struggle with a little bit here and there. Is would this be better? Would this be better? Would that be better? Would this be better? But you can tell that with time, and obviously he was drawing for his whole life, but he really has a confidence in his work that is to definitely be admired, and to aspire towards getting into that mindset of thinking of your work as your own personal war, and you have to fight it, and you have to have confidence when you're going out to fight each and every day towards mastering whatever medium it is that you're passionate about. So let's go ahead and get into some animation. This is the Fireman rig. It's a free rig you can grab over at davidoreilly.com, part of his External World collection of rigs. And if you're not familiar with what we'll be doing for the rest of the video, give ourselves 48 frames, give or take a few. I go off and I find a rig that I've never used before. It's a free resource for you guys to play around with as well. And we kind of go from there. A little bit of over the shoulder, just hang out with me while I animate, a little bit of talking through the process. But the main goal of doing these videos each and every day is to hopefully encourage you guys and inspire you to go off and create your own stuff each and every day, and towards taking it, that you take another step. towards your journey to wherever it is that you're looking to go, you know. Another thing that I do want to emphasize here that I've been doing the last couple of days, I feel like I haven't been doing before that as much, is I really hope that you guys feel like you have a buddy or a person in the foxhole with you throughout your art day or your creative day, or whatever medium it is that you're passionate about, that you feel like you're not alone, that there's someone else there who's, you know, sharing those successful days with you, and also learning from those harder, unsuccessful days as well, just so you don't feel alone when you're doing that stuff. So, that being said, let's go ahead and play around. So with this one, I was thinking that we would do a run cycle. He's a fireman, so he's probably needing to get somewhere quick. I think we should start setting that up here. So let's get a good storytelling pose to start off with. Get into the hips here. Grab those. Put that back. And forward there. Feel like he's booking it to wherever he needs to go. Maybe a little bit less up there. And let's tweak into that. And what's this? Get a little bit of twist in there. That's too much. And I think I'm going to do a kind of a clench on these hands here. All the tips on all the mids here. And then we'll grab all the bases. And we'll clench them up. Little variety in the hand pose. Yeah, let's look at the thumb. I think it's actually this controller here. Pull that back and bend that down and rotate that over a little bit and down further. Alright, it's okay pose to start there with, and let's look at the other side and do this hand. We'll take a similar approach. That seemed to work alright. I'm always, fortunately, I'm not a huge fan of the way that the fingers work on the external world rigs. I think I'm glad that they have so many different options, that each portion has a controller to use, but unfortunately just the way that they're set up with the geometry there, they're kind of hard to select each and every one. So I'd probably end up, if I was a rigger, which I'm not, I'm definitely aware of that, so I'm always thankful and grateful for any free resources that are around, but I would probably throw all the controllers in here, or put little circle loops around there, so it'd be a little bit easier to grasp. But that's more of a subtle thing to complain about or to talk about. Just something for you guys to look out for if you do end up using these rigs. The fingers take a little bit longer to make sure you're grabbing the correct ones here, but that's okay. It's not that big a deal. And let's go a little bit further out on this one. In there. And a little bit of rotate there. And a little bit of rotate there. And start there, maybe a little bit further back here. And let's also bring the head down a little bit and back up here. Just want a little bit of negative space in between there, but that feels a little too far. So what can we do? How can we go about getting that? I guess we could just go a little bit less there, and maybe a little bit more on the chest. No, just take a step back. A little bit less rotate Y. So we could just change the angle a little bit. Maybe we could pull the shoulders up a little bit higher. Just at least get a little bit of negative space there. It's a little bit better. It's not perfect. I'm going to bring that one down a little bit there. Accentuate the shoulders a little bit more. Alright, so let's start with something like that. I feel like that's an okay storytelling pose there to start with. Let's go ahead and save our file. We're using Autodesk Maya 2014 for today's video. For more information on that and all the stuff we've talked about so far, check out the links in the description below. And let's go ahead and get started here. So let's go set our frame range from 0 to 48, even though I'll probably tweak that a little bit more. Let's go ahead and set everything here, and let's start thinking about our timing. Let's go on 10s. Is that going to be too slow? Probably go on 8s, right? Let's vary that. Just going to work on the feet for right now. And we'll flick between those two. I think that might be too quick, but we'll see. Yeah, let's look at this side. Put that up there. Rotate that up. Over. Bring that back there. And over there. And then we'll flick between those two keys. Too fast? Yeah, it feels alright. Okay, so let's get those down positions here. Pop it down there. And then zero it up there. And plug that out there. Go, what was that, 3 frames in, zero it out, hold it for 2 frames, zero it out, and zero it out. And flatten it out again. Back where we started. Okay, now let's look at the other side. And then we'll drop that down, flatten that out. Keep it planted. So we got at least 2, what's that, 3 frames of contact there. That'll help here. Zero that out, Keep it on the ground. See how that feels now. Alright, that feels okay actually. Let's go ahead and save our file then, and let's start looking at the hips for right now. Let's go down there, up here, down there, up here, bit of weight in those hips now. And cycle back to where we started. Okay, that's pretty close. I think I might do a little bit more though with that. So let's balance it out here first. So you kind of make sure we're going fairly same amount there. Balance out the extremes here, and then let's exaggerate it all a little bit more. Let's see how it feels. I think we could probably go a little bit more up and a little bit more down. So let's see. It's close. That feels about right. Itchy ear. Why are you itchy ear? Okay, now let's do a little bit of rotate to favor the front planted leg here. Actually, let's, yeah. I want to do it there, I want to do it here. I'll do it there, 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 and back. Okay, I'm gonna have a lot of cleanup here to do. So we wanted 4 and then 12, so delete that one. Try and balance it out a little better. Let's see. Okay, now let's offset it with the chest. So push it there, 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 and back again. And let's balance that out a little better. Feel like it was a little too pushed, so let's scale it back a bit more. Let's see. Still feels like it's maybe a little too much. Maybe it needs to be more. Let's see. That fits better. Okay, and then let's look here. Let's do a little bit of a rotate. Z there. Z there. Z there. 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 And back again, and let's see. So I might move the rotate Y back to a different one. That's alright. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Maybe we'll keep it. We'll see. Alright, and let's look here at the chest. Let's do a little bit of rotate Z there. Yeah, it's just giving me too much. There. 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 And then back again. Okay. Yeah, close that. Alright, so let's scale that back and let's see how it looks now. I'm sure it's going to be too wonky. Okay, so that means I'm going to actually go back to when I had the original rotate Ys on, which was starting here. Still feels a little too loose. So let's scale both of them back here. Just take the rotate Y and do about a third of what we had before. Let's see how it feels just by doing that. And the chest is just too busy. So let's take the rotate X and we'll scale that back to about half of what we have there. Let's see it now. And let's take the rotate Z's as well. And let's scale those about 20% less. There we go. Now it feels loose, but not too over the top. Okay, let's go ahead and save our file, and let's start doing the arms here a little bit more. And we'll swing that one forward here. And bring it back. Bring it forward. Back. Forward. And back again. Let's see that now. Okay, let's look at the other arm. Come on. Let's see how far back we want to swing it to about there. Move that to about 8. Let's swing it forward and back and forward. Back, and then back again. Let's balance those out a little bit more. It doesn't have to be super even, but a little bit more. Okay, and let's break this arm a little bit. So we'll drag it back there, and bring it forward there. Back, bring it forward, drag it back, bring it forward, and go back to where we were. Alright, that feels okay. Definitely gotta tweak the hand a little bit more. So let's grab the wrist here and drag it back to about there. There, drag it back, lift it up, drag it back, lift it up, and then plop it back down again. And let's take that original pose and we'll make it a little less extreme so we have somewhere to go from there. Let's see it now. Make sure there's no intersection here. Let's go frame by frame. No real intersection. It's very close though. Alright, and let's look at this one. And I think for this one I am going to have a little bit more variety between the two arms here, rather than have them be really mirroring each other. I feel like that would work better for this guy. Let's see. Right, and let's look at this wrist. A little too broken to begin with. Drag it back there. Lift it up. Drag it back. Lift it up. Drag it back. And then go back to where we started. And then we also want to balance these out a little bit more, so let's make that original frame a little less extreme. Yeah, let's do a little bit of variation of the shoulders as well. It's not much, but a little bit of variety in that shoulder so we can feel that there's some movement there. Let's see. Alright, and let's look at this one. Let's go down a little bit here. Up a little bit. Down. Up. Down. And then back again. Okay, let's look at the feet a little bit closer now. Let's look at the toe up here, and down there. Let's drag the toe there, toe up here, and down there. Let's drag the toe. Get a little more variation in those feet. Toe up here and down there, so I get a little more slap. Okay, and let's look at the other side. So toe up here and flatten it out there, so we still get our 2 frames of contact. And drag it down here, up here, and flatten it out. Drag it back there, up here, flatten it out, and drag it back there. And let's see now. Okay, let's go ahead and save our file, and let's do a little bit of rotate forward and back, forward and back, so you can get a little bit of compression in the chest here. And we'll offset it in the chest in a second. Go back, and let's balance out how much rotate we did there. Keep that pretty minimal and pretty balanced. This is one of those times where I do usually focus on making it really even. It doesn't have to be exact. I'm not going to go through and punch in the exact value. I still want a little bit of variation there, but pretty close. Probably the closest I get besides mimicking frames. Now, I believe it's rotate Y on here, right? So stretch it out a little bit. Go in a little bit, back, in, back, in, back, in, back, back, and back to where we started. And let's balance that out. And I'm sure that's probably too much as well. So let's scale it back. Like I said, this is just going to give us a little bit of flexibility in the belly and in the spine as well, so it doesn't feel so stiff. Alright, let's see how that feels right now. Probably still a little too much. Let's scale it back a little bit more. See, there's a little bit of change of shape in the spine there now. Let's go look at the head. Maybe we'll do a little bit of rotate there. what was already on the chest movement itself. Back again. Let's see. Alright. And let's balance that out a little better. And also I think I'm going to delay it about 2 frames. I think. We'll see. Let's delay it about 2 frames. Maybe not. Yeah, let's try that. We'll punch in another key here. Let's see if we like it better that way. Alright, now let's just minimize the amount of movement there. See if that plays better. Still feels a little too bobbly, so let's keep scaling it back until we find something we like a little better. Alright, that feels okay. Let's do a little bit on the fingers, and then I think we'll start wrapping it up here, unless there's any other fun controllers we can really play with. So let's... In the case of this one, I think I'm just going to grab the bases. Normally I would grab all of them, but it's a clench anyway, so you're really not going to feel it too much. So let's go here and drag those fingers back. Go forward, bring them up, back, forward, back, forward, and then back to what we were before. And I'll take the index, I'll push it 1 frame forward, the pinky, I'll push it 1 frame back. Let's see how that feels. Alright. And let's look at the thumb, do a little bit of movement there. So we'll call it 8, and we'll bring it down a little bit more. Let's have it go a little bit back there. Back a little bit. In a little bit. Back a little bit. In a little bit. And back again. Okay, and let's look at the other thumb here. Let's save our file real quick. And are you gonna let me grab you, controller? There we go. So we'll go in a little bit more there, and out a little bit there, in a little bit here, out a little bit there, in a little bit, out, and then back to where we started. And let's look at the fingers themselves here, because there's already so much movement on the wrists themselves and the arms and everything. I'm not really worried about really playing up the fingers as much, because there is going to be movement on the fingers themselves because the whole thing's moving. Maybe I should explain that better. If I wanted it to be really over-exaggerated, I could open the hands and really wave the fingers around, but there's already movement on the hand itself, and in like classic hand-drawn animation, you know, you could really hold the pose more and then just move the arm, because the fingers would be moving as well, so you really wouldn't have to animate the fingers on top of that. I mean, albeit you probably would still want to do a little bit, but sometimes you want to keep it less throughout there, as long as it's not really pixel locking, which is where, you know, if somehow we could keep the fingers in frame at the same place but move the wrists differently, we wouldn't want to do that. But since they're moving as a unit, we already have some movement built in there, so you don't necessarily always have to move each and every controller on there if you already have the basic movement going. Hopefully that makes sense. If not, message me on Twitter and I'll try to explain it better. But the real idea is keep it simple. If you already have everything moving and it doesn't feel locked off, then you don't always have to play with that controller. Just because you have more controllers, sometimes using them, you know, there's already so much movement in here that we really don't need to get into the nuances of the tips and the mids on the fingers really here. Where most of the time I would say, you know, try and get, you know, touch every controller that you can. You wouldn't even really be able to see it here. Okay, so I think that works alright. We could definitely play it up even more, but I think we got something workable here. So let's go and watch it a couple more times, see if there's anything we really want to play up here. I feel like it works. Okay, so let's go ahead and turn our grid off. Create a new perspective here. And build ourselves a little base. Always like to do that, just, I don't know, makes it more like their little toys or action figures or something to me. And I was always a fan of toys and action figures when I was a little kid. My pockets would always be filled with a Ninja Turtle or a Lego guy or a Playmobil or any of that kind of stuff. So much so that like my mom and my grandma and all those guys would always say they were my little mannies I always carried around, which is kind of weird, but I don't know, sometimes I share too much, maybe. Let me know, comments down below. But this is kind of that same, it's really why I'm into the character design and all that kind of stuff too. Because I was a huge fan of toys when I was little. Huge fan. I mean, what kid isn't, but I mean, that was a big bulk of my life. And let's see. Copy that, paste another one. Kind of gives it a little stand like an Amiibo or a Skylander or something like that. Let's grab all these and let's just nudge them forward just a little bit. Maybe a little bit more. And then I think in honor of him being a fireman, let's make these red. Sign a new material on there. Let's put a Lambert. I was thinking do yellow, but I think red would be more appropriate for this guy. But like always, I never like real bright colors, so we'll do kind of a muted red, darker, like that. Kind of play off the red that's in his hat a little bit, maybe a little bit darker. A little bit darker there. Yeah, let's go something like that. A lot of times what I do too, not all the time, but sometimes I'll do a print screen on a character and then I'll bring it into Photoshop, find the exact color, and then I'll go into the color here and I'll plug in the actual hue, saturation, and value here, make sure that they really match up. But sometimes they're alright. So let's go ahead and I'm looking through this one. Yeah, let's create a background here real quick too, just so that I don't like doing just the default Maya color. It's too monotonous and too boring. It's just a little extra thing we can do here at the end just to add a little more originality or personality or something to our stuff so it doesn't feel so default. And it's a quick thing too. And turn our curves off. Make sure that the silhouette's alright. Like I said, we could probably push that arm a little bit more, but I think that works okay. And one more thing I'm going to do before we cut trying to finalize this is I'm going to grab everything, go to our last key, and I'm just going to push it off screen 1 frame so that way we get a little bit of variation from where we end to where we restart again in the cycle so we don't get that hold for 2 frames. And let's go ahead and watch that again, see how we like it. Yeah, I feel like that works. So let's take a look back at where we started. We were looking at the beautiful work of Vebell. And again, if I'm saying that wrong, ever I am, feel free to correct me on anything and everything. All I'm doing is trying to share the stuff that I learn and the stuff that I find to hopefully encourage you guys and inspire you guys. And he said, this is wartime. You've got to have a good, strong line. And I think that's a great quote. Usable in any medium. Think of your art or your passion or the thing that you're trying to master as your own personal war effort. And you want to put your best, strongest, foot forward and fight each and every day to take another step forward in your journey towards mastering whatever medium it is that you're passionate about. And I think that'll wrap it up for today. I hope you guys like this one. I had fun doing this one with you. I love you guys lots, and I think that'll wrap it up for today. So keep being awesome, and we will see you for some more animation tomorrow.